So what are the goals of the geometric design? Goals are maximize the comfort, safety, and economy of facility, provide efficiency in traffic operation, provide maximum safety at reasonable cost, and maximize the environmental, or minimize the environmental. So let us discuss what are the different things which affect the geometric design. So different factors affecting geometric design are, first one is design speed. So basically this design speed is very much important because all of your geometric features will be designed exclusively based on the design speed. So basically this design speed is the most prominent factor in designing the different geometric features of a particular road. Topography means the existing property or geophysical property of a particular area, whether that area is hilly area or plain area, whatever type of area is that, that is called topography. Then traffic condition, traffic means your maximum number of vehicles which are moving over there on. Okay, that is your traffic condition. That is what is the total number of vehicles which are moving over that place. That is your traffic. Then environmental factors. What are the different environmental factors? Whether that area is a dry area or highly rainfall area. So etc. There. Then economical factors. So economical factors are there. Suppose that constructing over that road would be economical or not. Whether that road is connecting different economical zone or not, etc. Then vehicle properties, different vehicle properties are there like dimension, weight, operating characteristic, etc. So dimension is very much important. Why dimension is important? Because based on the dimension, you can design the width of the road, design the underpasses, design the overpasses, etc. So basically that will depend on the dimension of the road. Then human characteristic like the physical, mental, and psychological characteristic of a driver and pedestrian, that is also important because suppose you are driving a vehicle, in that case, your perception, your psychological condition also affect the already moving the traffic. Okay, so basically that human characteristic, that human psychology is also very important in designing different features of the road. So what is basically the reaction time of the driver? So basically based on the reaction time only, uh, different things could be decided, like side distance could be decided. So what is the reaction time? That is how much time is required by you to react to a certain situation. Suppose you are driving a vehicle and suddenly something is coming up in front of your vehicle. In that case, you have to quickly take the decision whether you want to stop your vehicle or you can pass beside that obstacles. So this type of situation arises every day whenever you are or a driver is driving his vehicle. So in such cases, reaction time is very important. So geometric design of the highway deals with the following elements which we have discussed already: cross-section elements, side distance consideration, horizontal alignment details, vertical alignment details, and intersection elements. Now, let us discuss about the cross-sectional element. So, in the cross-sectional element, different portions are there, like pavement surface characteristics, width of the pavement or carriageway, cross slope or timber, median or traffic separators, curves, road margin, width of the formation. So, basically, these are the things which fall under cross-section element. So, these are the typical cross-section of a road in a embankment area. So in the embankment area, embankment means let me give you some example. Suppose one particular area is there. So that is you want to make one road over there, but you want to achieve certain elevation. In that case, you will fill that particular portion with some soil particles, okay, over that road. So basically, if the road is built on that particular built up area, in that case, that is called embankment. That is cross section of a road in embankment. But sometimes what you have to do, suppose one hilly area is there, you have to cut that particular portion, then level a particular portion, and you have to construct your road over that portion, over the cutting portion. That is called your cross section in your uh, area. Cross section in cutting area. So one is embankment, one is cutting. So embankment is whenever you are providing an artificial soil portion to raise the elevation of the road, that is embankment. And whenever you are building a road by cutting a particular portion of a hill area, in that case, that is called your cross section of a road in cutting. So in the embankment area, there are different portions. So let me discuss what are these different portions. Suppose this is a cross section of a road, only the blacktop portion of the road. Okay. So in the blacktop portion, you must have seen there is some slight curve over there. Okay. In the hilly area, there will be some slide over there, or in the city area, there will be very little curve, like like this. Okay, so basically this slope over there, that is called your cross slope or camber. That is called your cross slope or camber. See here, camber is so generally maximum limit of the camber is 2% to 4% depending on the different situation. Now in that camber, cross slope or camber, the topmost portion or central portion is called crown. Okay, the central portion is called crown. Okay, this is called crown. Now, this left portion over which your vehicle is moving, that is called your carriageway. Carriageway means that the portion which carry your vehicle, that is your carriageway. Beside this, that is your shoulder. Sometimes it will be used as a footpath, and this shoulder along with this carriageway is called your roadway. Okay, so your roadway is carriageway plus your shoulder. Okay, so after that, some boundary would be there. After that, some boundary would be there. That is called your road boundary. So that is the land up to which your road health or government health exploit the road for the road construction. Okay, so after that, another boundary is there. That is called building line. So up to that building line, so from here up to that building line, no construction activity is allowed in that portion. Okay, no construction activity is allowed in that portion. So that is called building line. So after that building line, another thing is there, that is called control line. So control line is there. So in the control line, basically after the building line up to the control line, some building activity or some construction activity is allowed, but for that reason, prior some requirements are there. Some notices would be there. So you have to take prior permission before constructing any of that things over this two line, control line and building. So from the control line up to the building line, all these activities would be very much controlled. Therefore, that is called control line. Up to the building line from the road boundary, there will be no building activity is allowed over there. That's why it is called building line. That is your road boundary, that is your portion of the road which is situated over there, and over here different road features are there. So that's why it is called road boundary. Okay, And this is called berm, that is the distance between the side frame from that embankment, that is called your berm. So just remember, camber is nothing but the cross slope. Okay, this slope provided in the transverse direction is basically called your camber. So this is the similar thing. Now coming to the next portion, pavement surface characteristics. So what are the different pavement surface characteristics? Just wait for the 5 minutes and come. Just take a rest for 5 minutes. Come. Okay, let us start again. So pavement surface characteristics. So in the pavement surface characteristic, one important thing is your friction. So friction between the wheel and the pavement surface is crucial factor in designing of horizontal curves and thus the safe operating speed. Moreover, that friction is very much required for the operations of the vehicles over the road. Now, if the friction is very much higher, in that case, it will create hindrance to the movement of the traffic. And if there is no friction also, in that case also, what will happen? The vehicle will slip. It cannot operate over the road. So basically, friction is very much important. So in relation to that friction, there is two important terms. One is skidding and another one is slipping. Okay, so skidding happens when the path traveled along the road surface is more than the circumferential movement of the wheel due to friction. So what happens in the skidding? Let me give one example. After that, we'll get to know about or you will understand this definition. Suppose in you are traveling with your bike or you are traveling with your car. Okay, so you are moving with a higher speed. And if suddenly you apply your brake, okay, suddenly if you apply your brake, what will happen? The vehicle will move forward up to some distance, and but what will happen? The movement of the tire means that revolving of the tire will stop. So for that reason, the vehicle will move forward, but it will create one mark over the road surface. and there some sound would be there. So basically that is called skidding. So basically skidding is whenever you are moving without the revolving of the tire, that is called basically skidding. And another thing is slipping. Suppose you are trying to start your vehicle in a muddy area. Okay, so in the muddy area, there will be no friction. So in such cases, if you want to start your vehicle, so sometimes what will happen, your tire will be stuck over there. Okay, and the tire will start revolving in that particular area, but your horizontal distance uh, traveled by the vehicle will be zero. So that is called your slipping. So slip occurs when the wheel revolves more than the corresponding longitudinal movement along the road. Is it clear what is skidding and slipping?
Sir, again.
Okay, let me discuss this with some real example. Okay, suppose this is the tire of the vehicle. Okay, and suppose this periphery of this is 1 meter. For example, suppose 1 meter. So what does this indicate? It indicates that whenever the tire revolve a full circle, in that case, what should be the distance? What should be the distance covered in the horizontal direction? That would be 1 meter. Is it clear or not? If
It's clear.
it is clear. Okay. So in that case, we can say that if we cut this section, in that case, it will be equal to 1 meter. That's why it has moved. Whenever it moves a full circle, in that case, that horizontal distance covered by it would be 1 meter. Now think of a situation. The situation is the this tire, okay, that periphery is 1 meter. But whenever you apply brake after running with a higher speed, in that case, the horizontal distance covered is suppose 3 meter. Okay. So what happens over here? Here, what happens that the path traveled along the road surface is more than the circumferential movement of the wheel. This is called basically skidding. So in such cases, what happens? Whenever you apply brake, there will be some mark over the road section and some sound would be there, and your vehicle will move forward, but your tire would be not revolving. So basically that is called your skid. Okay. Now coming to the next portion, slip. In that case, slip, what will happen? Suppose same tire is there, 1 meter's peripheral distance. Now, suppose this portion underneath the tire, that area is very much muddy area, or water is there, or something like is there. Suppose very much slippery area. In such cases, what will happen? Whenever you start accelerating, if the tire, if the tire complete one circle, it should be moved by 1 meter. But in case of slipping, it will not move 1 meter. It will move a distance which would be practically or very much equal to zero. So that is called your slipping. So in the slipping, what will happen? You will just accelerate, but your vehicle will not move. Instead, your tire will be revolving in a particular place, in a same place. That is basically your slipping. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So slip and skid, that is also very important. So what is skid and what is slip? You just remember one thing. If you want to memorize these two things, in that case, it will mix up. You just remember one thing in the skidding, what happens? Your horizontal distance traveled by the vehicle will be more than the peripheral circumference of the tire, and for the slipping, that would be opposite.
Sir, sliding. Sometimes slides like the vehicle, sir.
That is sliding means can you elaborate that term? Hello, can you elaborate? Can you give some example?
Slide, sir, slide.
Okay, in the sliding.
Don't know, sir. We use this term most of. Suppose someone is driving the bike, and then at no a turning point, they bending their bike, but suddenly the bike got slide, and then
Okay. Let me clear this. Okay, I got this. So basically, in that case, sliding sometimes that bike overruns, na, because of that banking and other things. So basically, whatever this skidding and slipping, that skidding and slipping is basically if you go for the friction, there are two types of friction. One is longitudinal friction, and another one is transverse friction. So this skidding and slipping happens due to the longitudinal friction. Okay. And that your sliding happens because there is transverse friction. There is lesser amount of transverse friction. And for that reason, what happens in the corner section, this is the corner section now. In the corner section, whenever a vehicle is moving over there, in that case, one force will be acting outward. That is called basically centrifugal force. Okay. So to counteract that force, basically what happens, you have to raise the upper portion of the road then from the inner portion. And that particular phenomenon is called super elevation. Now, whatever super elevation you have to provide, basically that will depend on the design speed. Now, suppose some vehicles is moving more than that design speed. In that case, that super elevation cannot counteract that that external forces or centrifugal forces. In that case, your sliding happens. You got my point.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go for the detailed analysis of this in the next portions. So all these things are included in this geometric design chapter. So we one by one we will get to know about all these things, all this phenomena. So see, IRC suggests the coefficient of longitudinal friction as 0.35 to 0.4 depending on the speed, and coefficient of lateral friction as 0.15. So these are the some specification for longitudinal and transverse friction or lateral friction. So in detail, we will discuss this later. So another thing is there that is called unevenness. Unevenness means whether the surface is even or some undulation is there. That is called unevenness. So basically, unevenness, if there is excessive unevenness, it will uh, cause discomfort to the driving condition. So basically, that unevenness you have to measure. So there are some indicators from by which you can measure the unevenness, and that is called bump indicator. Okay, so that is a bump indicator. Using that bump indicator, you can measure the unevenness, and there are some instrument by which that unevenness could be measured. One such instrument is Bankelman beam method. So using that Bankelman beam method, you can find out what is the unevenness of a particular stress of the road. So generally, an unevenness index value less than 1500 millimeter per kilometer is considered as good. A value less than 2500 millimeter per kilometer is satisfactory, and up to speed of 100 kilometer per hour, and values greater than 3200 millimeter per kilometer is considered as uncomfortable even for 55 kilometer per hour. So basically, if a value is less than 1500 millimeter per kilometer, in that case it is considered good, and if it is more than 3200 millimeter per kilometer, in that case it is considered very much uncomfortable for the driving condition. The next question is light reflection characteristic. So light reflection is basically your road section. Road section is black. So in the black portion during the daytime, uh, in that case, that is okay. All these visibilities are fine. Each and everything is fine. But the problem arises during the night. If that is a black portion, in that case, it will match up with the surrounding, and in that case, it will very much difficult during the night time to identify in some cases which one is the road alignment. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind. So you have to find out some alternative way so that you can increase the visibility of the road. So if you uh, paint the road in a white color, in that case, what will happen? During the night time, it will be okay. But during the daytime, because of the sunlight, there will be excessive reflection and it will uh, make or cause hindrance to your eyesight. So in such situation, another alternative appears, and that alternative appears to be very much effective. So in such cases, what happens? Your entire road would be black, but in the side portion, you will paint the road with white marker. Okay, and sometimes some reflective light would be there. So in such cases, that road would be usable during the daytime, and during the night time also that visibility will be there, because you have an idea that what is the boundary of that particular road. So basically that is the light reflection characteristic. So basically based on that light reflection characteristic, these road markings and markings have been decided. So width of the pavement or carriageway, which we have already discussed, that is the blacktop portion, that is your width of the carriageway. Now for the width of the carriageway for a single lane road, that width of the carriageway is 3.75 meter. For a single lane road, that is 3.75 meter. Why 3.75 meter? Because you have considered, or we have considered the dimension, that is width of the vehicle is 2.5 meter and the clearance distance of 625 millimeter in both the sides. So that is your 3.75 meter. So you just remember for single lane road, the width of the road should be 3.75 meter. For two lanes without any curve. Curve, what is curve? Curve is the boundary between the carriageway and the shoulder. So basically that is your curve. So two lanes without any curves, that would be 7 meter total. Two lanes, if there is any curve portion, in that case that would be 7.5 meter. That is width of the carriageway. And intermediate carriageway, that is the carriageway in between two portions. In that case, that would be 5.5 meter. And if that is the multi-lane pavements, in case of multi-lane pavements, each lane would be 3.5 meter of width. So what is cross slope or camber? We have already discussed. That is the transfer slope provided over the road section. That is your cross slope or camber. So main purpose of the cross slope or camber is for the drainage purpose, so that the drain water and all the water which would be falling over the road surface, that could be easily drained off. So basically that is the main purpose of the cross slope or camber. So these are some specification of the crosslope or camber. So I'm not going for the detailing of this all these things, because this is self-explanatory. You can have some proof over there. So if you go for the different type of camber, crosslope or camber, there are generally three types. One is parabolic camber, one is straight line camber, and another one is combination of straight line and parabolic camber. For city area, for now we have that parabolic camber. We have only used that parabolic camber, and in some cases we have used that combination of parabolic and straight line camber. The straight line camber is not used nowadays. The next question is median or traffic separator. Median or traffic separator will separate two opposing moving vehicles. Suppose this is your road. So in one road, the traffic is moving in that direction. In another road, traffic is moving in that opposite direction. So you make one separate. You make that both these directional traffic separate by installing this stretch of that portion. So basically that is called your traffic medians or separators. Now there are different specifications for the traffic width of the traffic medians or separators. So these are the limits. We just have a look over this. Then curves. Curve is basically, suppose this is the road and this is the shoulder. So curve is basically the boundary between the road and shoulder. Some see, these are the curves. Okay, this is the boundary between the road and shoulder. These are the curves. So these curves may be your mountable type. This is the mountable type. Mountable type means in where vehicles can mount over it. Semi barrier type. This is the semi barrier type. This is the fully barrier type. Vehicle cannot move over it, and this is the submerged type. There will be no visible curves on the top of the road, but there will be some submerged portion that is called submerged curves. So basically, these are the different types of curves. So you just don't confuse among curves and camber. So camber is basically cross slope, and curve is basically boundary between the carriageway and the shoulder. So road margin, so we have already discussed what is shoulder. Shoulders are provided along the road is to serve as an emergency lane for the vehicles. So sometimes it is used as a footpath also. So then as per the IRC means Indian Road Congress. So basically that is basically your code for on that road related design. So for the IRC, width of the shoulder should be 2.5 meter. So, what are the uses of this? The repair of broken down vehicles, overtaking operation to act as an emergency lane, for future widening of the pavement, for temperature diversion of traffic during road repair work, for temporary diversion of traffic during the road repair, etc. So these are the main function of the road shoulder. Then guardrails, sometimes in the road shoulder between the margin of the that over that curve, sometimes some guardrail is provided so that users or or pedestrians cannot cross the particular sections of the road. So that is called your guardrail. Footpath is there. Footpath is provided to enable the pedestrians movement. Some driveway, sometimes some driveway is provided. Suppose the roadside there is some petrol pump is there, so from the road to petrol pump there is one particular way is there or road is there, that is called driveway. Sometimes cycle track is provided. Cycle track is separate track provided exclusively for the cyclist. Then parking lane. Parking lane is provided for the parking of the vehicles, and sometimes embankment slope is provided. Embankment slope is, suppose that the road is provided over the embankment, in that case basically that portion is called your embankment slope. So what is building line, what is control line, we have already discussed. Now what is super elevation, we have slightly discussed about all these things. So we'll go for the details analysis of the super elevation in our next class. That is super elevation and sight distance. I think this portion is clear to you. Okay, so let us finish the class. You can give your attendance in the WhatsApp group.